Hey guys, what's up? It's iFlynn here, and welcome to episode 7 of my Warframe The Ultimate Beginner's Guide 2.0. I made a lot of progress on this account, so we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. I'm not recording this video live today, like while I'm walking around in my ship, simply because there is so much to cover. So the first thing that I want to draw your guys' attention to is the fact that I was able to get this account up to Mastery Rank 6. So in between last video and this video, I've done the Master Rank 5 test, which is a simple hacking test where all you have to do is hack, I believe it's free consoles for the Grenier and then free consoles for the Corpus. So those two different hacking mini games, two different types. If you're really struggling with this quest, you can go to the market and get a blueprint for a gear piece called the Cipher. You can craft this Cipher and you can use it to basically skip this test. You have to craft 6 because every single console is going to consume one Cipher, right? All you have to do, I believe on PC, is press Y is the default key binding. So you press Y and then it's going to automatically hack the little console for you. But if you're good at mini games, this shouldn't be too difficult for you, honestly. And then the Master Rank 6 test is basically a shooting test. I was able to do it with the Heck, but I would recommend bringing a fully automatic assault rifle because, you know, it's just going to make it a lot easier for you. All you have to do is put one bullet into this little red glowing ball, track it, like follow the little line that is going from ball to ball, and then the ball that lights up red, you shoot that ball, rinse and repeat for 3 rounds, and then you're done. So that is pretty much all you need to know about those two different Master Rank tests. On screen now, you should be able to see a bunch of things that I've leveled up to get from Master Rank 4 to Master Rank 6. So anything that has the little leaf symbol in the top right hand corner of it, I was able to level that from level 0 to 30 to get myself to Master Rank 6. The only things that aren't fully leveled is all of my Arcwing gear, and that's simply because there's nowhere on the star chart right now that you can necessarily go to like power level your Arcwing, right? There's no Arcwing mission that gives you a big XP bonus, so it's not really worth investing too much time into right now. In the previous episode, I showed you guys how to get a Hemlift Charger. Now, the Hemlift Charger, basically an infested Kubro. What I wanted you guys to do after you got the Hemlift Charger was level it from level 0 to 30. Then after that, I wanted you guys to go to Earth to get a Kubro egg from another Kubro den, and then get another power core by going to the market, picking up a blueprint for it, crafting it in your foundry, and by getting another Kubro egg and by getting another power core, you're able to start a random incubation. Now, the Kubro that I got from my random incubation was called a Sahasa Kubro, I believe, off the top of my head, but you'll see if you look on the screen right now that there are a multitude of different types of Kubros. Now, Kubros aren't that good. The Kavats in the game, basically just the cats, those are a lot better, and I'm going to show you guys how to get those in the Sky series. But what I want you guys to do is try your best to go and get another Kubro egg and another power core, then start the random incubation to get the other breeds of Kubros so you can level them from 0 to 30 as early as possible. Because like I said, Kubros aren't that good and they're not really worth investing a lot of resources into. So the earlier you get them out of the way, the better, because they're just basically master rank fodder. The higher you can get your master rank, like the earlier you can do it, then the easier the rest of the game is going to become, because the higher master rank, the easier the more tedious grinds near the end of the game are going to be. Another thing that I want to draw your guys' attention to is this weapon called the Redeemer. Now, the Redeemer is kind of like your introduction to using other weapons as resources to craft weapons, right? So if you go to the market and you type in the Redeemer to get the blueprint for it, you'll notice that the blueprint requires you to get a fully crafted Dual Scanna and a fully crafted Vasto. So that means you have to go out of your way to get the blueprint for both the Vasto and the Dual Scanna, craft those, and then what I would like you guys to do is level both the Dual Scanna and the Vasto from level 0 to 30. You don't have to do that, but again, if you get it from level 0 to 30, it's going to increase your master rank because you're just going to have mastered that weapon, and you're also never going to have to go back to that weapon and then level it from level 0 to 30 again because you didn't skip out on the first time that you leveled it, right? So once you get those to level 30, the Vasto and the Dual Scanna, you can use them to craft the Redeemer. Now, the reason that we need the Redeemer is because the Redeemer makes the boss on Europa very, very easy. We're not going to talk about that just now because we don't have to at the minute, but whenever we do get to that point, then the Redeemer is going to make it extremely easy. On screen now, I'm going to put up 3 screenshots for primary weapons, secondary weapons, and melee weapons, showing you all of the different weapons that are used to build other weapons, right? So the other one that you might have right now is the Amphis. You use that to make a weapon called the Sidon, which you get the blueprint for the Sidon by being part of a clan. So this is a perfect segue in the piece of like Warframe homework. Before you watch the next episode, I want you guys to get into a clan. You can do that by opening up recruiting chat and just say that you're looking for a clan. Put LF and then space clan in recruiting chat, and then hopefully somebody will message you and offer you a spot into their clan. If not, I do have videos on my channel telling you guys how you can join my clan, but of course joining my clan isn't a guarantee because there are a lot of people joining my clan and we're limited to 1,000 slots. So unfortunately, you might not be able to get into my clan. I've set my dojo up in a way where it's very easy to understand for newer players. All of the different labs that you have to go to get blueprints for weapons are in like this one room basically, so it's pretty easy to understand. But in the next episode, it's going to be very important for you to be in a clan because we're going to be using these things called dragon keys to get really impactful mods. So try to get into a clan before the next episode, because if you're not in a clan by the next episode, you're not going to be able to do the things that I'm going to be mentioning in the next episode. So try your very hardest to get yourself into a clan that is actually got all of the research done for all of the weapons and the dragon keys and stuff like that. I wouldn't recommend going out of your way to make your own clan unless you're playing with a bunch of friends who are actually dedicated to the game and actively playing, because that can be a strain on your resources that you're going to need to build a lot of weapons. So you don't necessarily want to be going out of your way to spend all of your resources on building a clan whenever you need those resources to be crafting weapons to up your master rank. So if you can join a clan, great. If not, well then you're gonna miss out on a lot of really cool stuff, and only try to take on your own clan or build your own clan if you have got the resources, the time, and maybe the friends to do so. In terms of star chart progression, we last left off on Jupiter, and to get from Jupiter to Saturn, we first have to go to Europa. So on the left-hand side of Jupiter, you can go to the Europa Junction, hover over it, you can see that we have got to complete the Stolen Dreams quest, which is a pretty straightforward quest. All you have to do is do spy missions one after the other. The second requirement is to complete Teshub in the Void. So to get the Teshub, you got to go all the way back to Phobos and then complete the node Stickney. Then from Stickney, you can go to the Void. The first node in the Void is Teshub. It's an exterminate mission. You can complete it with the likes of a Scanna. If you throw on Pressure Point, Fever Strike, and Shock and Touch, it should be a breeze. Then the last one that we've got to do is craft a Warframe Spectre. So crafting a Warframe Spectre is pretty easy. You get Spectre blueprints from completing rescue missions. So complete a rescue mission, get a Spectre, go to your foundry, and craft any Spectre that you have. And Spectres are basically just little companions that you can throw out in like a Pokeball, right? So you craft it in your foundry, you can equip it to your gear wheel from your arsenal, go into a mission, bring up your gear wheel, and then you throw out a little Pokeball, the guy spawns in and he helps you out. So there are Spectres that you can get later on in the game, such as Infested Ancients, which will give you damage reduction, or you can get Shield Drones, which give you shields. So some have niche uses, but they're not really widely used within Warframe because you complete missions so fast and a lot of missions are so easy that it really doesn't call for Spectres to be used that much. But again, there are niche uses that can take you really deep into like survival missions and defense missions and stuff like that. So once you get to Europa, you want to immediately turn your attention to the Saturn Junction, which is at the bottom of Jupiter. So the first quest that we've got to do here is called the New Strange quest. And this quest is a little bit more tedious because it requires you to do more scanning. If you guys get flashbacks to Mars having to go around and scan those cephalon fragments, well, now here's an entire quest based around scanning. This is really poorly placed in my opinion. Again, it's not a quest that I necessarily enjoy, but it does introduce you a little bit more to the lore within Warframe. So basically this quest requires you to go to a relay, talk to a character known as Cephalon Samaras. He's going to give you a special type of scanner and a trap. You've got to equip the scanner and trap to your gear wheel, and then you have to play missions on Mars and go and scan a certain enemy called a synthesis target. So when you're in missions on Mars, if you bring out this special scanner that he gives you, you're going to see these little blue floating balls when you're looking through the scanner aiming down sights. You want to keep on following these balls until until you find the enemy that you've got to scan. Then once you find him, you got to place the trap down. He's going to get caught in the trap, and then you have to scan 4 different limbs on his body. And then once you do that, then that's it. He's scanned, and you've got to do that 3 times while also completing the mission as well. You rinse and repeat that process, and then you get to a point where you have to scan a Warframe called Chroma. Again, it's pretty easy. It's just not a defense mission. You complete this defense mission, he's going to spawn in, you scan him, that's pretty much it. The quest will literally tell you what you have to do. I just thought that I would give you guys a little bit of an idea on what you're supposed to do whenever you have to scan those 3 enemies, because it can get pretty annoying and it's a little bit confusing. So hopefully that clears that up. But after you complete the new strange quest, so what you've got to do is you got to defeat Alad V at Themisto on Jupiter. This should be a pretty easy one. It might be difficult for some players if you don't sort of twig on to what you're supposed to do in the boss fight. What you're meant to do is you're meant to walk up to Alad V and you're meant to down him using a hex shotgun or a melee weapon. You could even use the Redeemer that I mentioned a little bit ago. You can use that. So you can use your radial blind, you can use your melee weapon to deal lots of damage to him. And then whenever he is down, his pet Sanuka, which is the robot looking thing, which sort of follows him around, that's going to go and revive him. And while it's reviving him, that's whenever you can deal damage to it. So you want to keep on downing Alad V so you can deal damage to Sanuka and sort of distract him, and rinse and repeat that process until he's dead. So Alad V is going to drop parts of the Warframe known as Valkyr. Valkyr, in my opinion, isn't a must-have. She's a good Warframe. She's sort of like a tank and spank, and she makes melee weapons really insane because she's got an ability which can buff up the attack speed, but she's like by no means necessary. So what I would do is I would still go out of my way to farm up all of her parts and have them sitting crafted in my foundry if you can, because now that you're at Jupiter, you're at the point where you can consistently farm neural sensors. You've probably noticed that if you do a few boss runs off Alad V, he drops neural sensors pretty consistently, and you just get a lot of neural sensors from Jupiter. So you can now craft other Warframes, right? So if you wanted to, you could craft Mag, you could craft Rhino. You could probably craft Rhino a lot earlier, but now it's like 110% guaranteed that you can craft pretty much every single Warframe that you can farm up from the star chart, because you've got access to like all of the rare resources, right? Or pretty much just all of the resources anyway. So I would say craft Rhino and then claim him, because Rhino was just a really strong frame. So he would be the first Warframe that you get from the star chart that you want to craft and claim. And then of course all the other Warframes, get all of their parts, have them sitting crafted in the foundry ready. So that would be Mag, Excalibur if you didn't choose him, Frost, you can get Nova as well from Europa. We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. And then of course Valkyr now and Rhino. So the other thing that we've got to do is complete Baal on Europa. So all you have to do is progress through Europa. Europa, it's not a difficult planet because it is mainly occupied by the Corpus. So all you want to do is throw toxin damage on your weapon, or you could combine electric and cold on your weapon to make magnetic damage. So it's entirely up to you which one you want to do, but either way, it should be pretty easy, especially if you've got the hex. So you just want to get the Baal, you go down the path at the bottom of Europa, so it should be pretty straightforward. That is a, let's see, it's maybe a mobile defense mission, a interception mission, which I was able to solo that interception mission. You may or may not be able to do that, but I was just able to jump in with Excalibur and use my radial javelin ability, so that one was pretty easy. I've got the hijack mission done. Again, hijack missions are kind of poorly placed for newer players, I would say. You just have to throw your redirection mod on and escort the thing. And then we've got Baal finally, which is an exterminate mission. You could take, you can't really actually take a different path. That's basically the one path that you've got to go down to get the Baal. So you might struggle getting into Baal just because of the types of missions there. You've got interception, you've got hijack, 2 pretty annoying missions, one after the other. But all I would say at that point is then make sure that you're leveling up your mods, and we'll jump to like what mods I've been using on my Warframe and my weapons in a minute. So on my Excalibur, I'm using Vitality, Flow, Streamline, Redirection, Continuity, Stretch, Intensify, and Equilibrium. So Vitality is just going to give me more health. Flow is going to give me more maximum energy. I'm using the broken flow at the minute because if I were to put the normal flow on, it would take me over my capacity limit. I wouldn't be able to put it on. I'm using a Streamline, which is one rank from the top. Streamline gives you ability efficiency, and it's basically going to make it so that your abilities cost less to use. So I can use my Radial Blind more often, my Radial Javelin more often, my Exalted Blade more often, Slash Dash more often, stuff like that. I'm using Redirection because I needed those extra shields for that hijack mission. I've got 2 ranks into that. I've got Continuity on here on the V polarity. I haven't got that ranked up at all. It's just going to make it so that enemies that are blinded by my Radial Blind are stunned for a little bit longer. I've got Stretch on here with no ranks whatsoever because range, it's important, but it's not super important right now. Intensify is just going to increase the damage of my abilities like Radial Javelin, Slash Dash, Exalted Blade. That's a mod that you could completely drop if you really wanted to and throw something else on. So for example, I could take that Intensify off and throw on you know, that regular flow, for example, if I really wanted to. It's not a necessary mod at all. It is going to increase the amount of damage you deal, but it's not going to increase it by much. Like the damage from your Exalted Blade, for example, it's going to get a lot more damage from the mods that are actually equipped onto it rather than from the power strength stat that you have in your Warframe. Of course, it still increases it, but I'm just saying that the majority of the increase to the damage that you're going to get is going to come from the mods that are on your Exalted Blade. And of course, I've got Equilibrium on here as well. That's just going to make it so that every single time that I pick up an energy orb, I'm also getting health. And every single time that I pick up a health orb, I'm also getting energy. So that way I'm not sort of like running low on either of the two of those things all the time, right? If I'm picking up one, I'm also getting the other. And that's pretty essential as a newer player, having a way to reliably get your energy back and your health back, because you don't have a lot of options right now. So having Equilibrium on there, like at least the broken version, is helping you out just a bit. So it's a very basic build, and of course, like I said, it's up to you whether or not you want to use Intensify, but this was enough to get me through the entirety of Europa and the entirety of Jupiter, so hopefully it should work for you as well. On the topic of my Exalted Blade build, I'm running Pressure Point, Fury, Fever Strike, Shocking Touch, Molten Impact, and Volcanic Edge. So the reason that I haven't ranked up my Fever Strike and my Shocking Touch is because I'm able to put on Pressure Point, Fever Strike, and Shocking Touch onto all the melee weapons that I've got up to level 30. If I were to rank up Fever Strike or Shocking Touch by 1 rank, then I would go over my capacity and I wouldn't be able to throw those 3 mods on. And the reason those 3 mods in particular are important is because that's how I'm getting the most damage out of my weapons as of right now. And the reason that I'm getting the most damage out of these 3 mods in particular is because I'm making corrosive damage. So this is like your introduction to elemental combinations. So I remember telling you guys in episode 4 that you can get more damage out of your weapons by throwing on elemental damage mods onto your weapons, right? Because that is just going to give you the biggest bonus possible. Well, what if I also told you guys that you're going to get an even higher bonus versus certain enemies because of the elemental damage that you're using on your weapons? So for example, enemies in this game have different weaknesses and resistances, and there are enemies within the Grenier faction called Heavy Gunners, right? So these Heavy Gunners, they have ferrite armor, and ferrite armor is weak to corrosive damage. So if we had a weapon that dealt 100 corrosive damage, right? And we hit this corrupted heavy gunner, or this just regular heavy gunner, whatever, who has ferrite armor, then it would take 75% of that 100 damage and then add that on top, and we would be dealing 175 damage to that heavy gunner, right? So it's in your best interest to learn which elements and elemental combos are better versus what factions in the game. So if you want to learn how to make all of the different elemental combinations, what I want you guys to do is back out of your arsenal, go all the way up to your codex, then go to training, then press on damage and go to page 5. All right, so if we go over to page 5, what we're going to see is all of the different elemental combinations and how we make them. So it says combine attacks 4 greater forms. A Tenno Master may go even further, combining the 4 primary elemental damage types to create secondary ones, right? So you can make blast damage by combining fire and ice. You can make radiation damage by combining fire and electric. You can make gas damage by combining fire and toxin. You can make magnetic damage by combining cold and electric. You can make viral damage by combining cold and toxin. And then finally, last but definitely not least, you can combine electric and toxin to make corrosive damage. So all of these different damage types are going to deal more or less damage versus particular factions. So for example, blast damage isn't so great versus armored enemies because they are resistant to it, but corrosive damage is very good versus armored enemies because they are weak to it, if that makes sense. Same thing for magnetic. It's not so great versus armored enemies because they resist it, but corrosive damage is going to deal a ton of damage to those guys. So if I was to give you guys sort of like a TLDR, like you didn't have to do a lot of research into this, corrosive damage is good versus Grineer enemies. Magnetic damage is good versus Corpus enemies. Corrosive damage is also good versus Infested enemies. So versus the Grineer, you can either mod for corrosive and heat, or you can mod for corrosive and cold. Versus the Infested, you can mod for corrosive and heat, and that's all I would really mod for. Versus the Corpus, you can mod for magnetic and toxin, or you can mod just straight up toxin, and that would be what I would go for. Of course, the other elemental damage types in the game, they are going to deal sort of like more damage versus particular enemies, but for the sake of completing the star chart, that is basically all you need to know, because you're not going to go out of your way to mod for specific enemies as of right now, because there is no one specific enemy that you're going to have to deal with as of right now that requires you to sort of mod for a specific element, if that makes sense. So with that information, moving forward, whenever you go versus the Corpus, you want to make sure that you're trying to make magnetic damage and toxin damage. Whenever you're going versus the Grineer, you want to make sure that you're trying to make corrosive damage and heat, or corrosive damage and cold. Whenever you're going against the Infested, you want to make sure that you're trying to mod for corrosive and heat. So if we go back down to our modding station, what I want you guys to understand is whenever you're modding any weapon, right, there is like a secret order to this. So the slot in the top left hand corner, that is slot number 1, and then the slot in the bottom right hand corner, that is slot number 8. So it goes horizontally. So top left hand corner is number 1, then to the right of that is number 2, to the right of that is number 3, to the right of that is number 4. Bottom left hand corner, number 5, to the right of that 6, to the right of that 7, to the right of that 8. So if I were to try and make, let's say, corrosive damage, right, I would have to make sure that my toxin mod and my electric mod are one after the other in numerical order, right? So I could put, let's say, Fever Strike in slot number 1, and then Shock and Touch in slot number 2, and then that would make corrosive, right? I could put Fever Strike in slot number 1 and Shock and Touch in slot number 3, and as long as there isn't an elemental mod in between the two of those, then it would still make corrosive. If I were to put Fever Strike in slot number 1, then Molten Impact in slot number 2, and Shock and Touch in slot number 3, that it would make gas and electric. And that's not what you want. That's a bad elemental combo setup, right? So just make sure that the elements that you want are one after the other, right? You could have Fever Strike in slot number 1, and then Shock and Touch in slot number 4, and then Molten Impact in slot number 8, and you would still make corrosive and fire. So they don't have to be one after the other. They don't have to be right beside one another. Just make sure that, you know, in numerical order, sort of, they are one after the other in that sense. The elemental mods are one after the other. So you have Fever Strike in 1, then maybe Shock and Touch in 3, and then Molten Impact in 4. That would be how I would set it up. Or you could do 1, 2, 3, have Fever Strike 1, Shock and Touch 2, Molten Impact 3. That's how I would do it. In the last episode of the guide, I asked you guys to go to the market to get the blueprint for a shotgun known as the Heck and craft it. Then, of course, level it from level 0 to level 30 so, you know, you can throw as many mods on it as possible. It's very important that you hold on to the Heck because it is a shotgun that you are going to use throughout the entirety of the star chart. It's basically going to carry you through all of the star chart content. On top of that, if you paid attention to the last video as well, I asked you guys to pick up a mod called Hell's Chain Chamber from the spy mission on Ceres on the node boat. So if you manage to get the Hell's Chamber mod and of course the Hex Shotgun, you might have access to a mod called Point Blank as well. You should do so because honestly it's not a rare mod and you should just get it like as an enemy drop or from a spy mission or something like that. So if you combine Point Blank, which is just your damage mod for shotguns, and Hell's Chamber, which is going to give you 120% multi-shot, you should have realized already that the Heck one-shots like every single enemy in the game so far. It's pretty crazy. And on top of that, if you throw an elemental mod on, let's say Incendiary Coat, which is the fire mod for shotguns or anything that you have access to right now, then it makes it even stronger, right? Of course, because of that whole elemental talk that we just had, try to match the elemental mod versus the damage, or not the damage, the faction that you're going against to get the most damage possible, right? So if you're going against the Corpus, you can try to go for Toxin or Magnetic, or you know, you can even throw on cold damage because cold damage does decent damage versus shields too. So maybe cold damage is the mod that you want to throw on because then you can use that versus Grineer and also Corpus. So it's entirely up to you what you want to run in terms of elements and stuff like that. Of course, making sure that you're using the right elements, of course. I'll have a link in the description below to a little chart that you can take a look at, which will tell you which elemental damage types give you what type of bonus versus each type of enemy in the faction. If you want to take a look at that, it might not make total sense to you right now because it speaks in the type of defensive piece of equipment the enemy has, right? So it'll talk in what type of armor they have, or it'll talk in the type of shield that they have, rather than just straight up say, hey, this enemy is weak or resistant to this sort of elemental damage type, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. But yeah, the Heck is really, really, really insane. We want to Forma this and put on an Orokin Catalyst. So this is sort of like your introduction to Forma and Orokin Catalysts and reactors. So let's talk about Forma first, because Forma is the thing that you want to jump on as soon as you can. Forma blueprints are obtained from Fisher missions. So Fisher missions are the things that you do by expending a relic to get like a prime part, right? So Forma blueprints, these are blueprints that you get and you can craft one of them a day. They take 24 hours to craft, and they take basically all the rare resources from the star chart so far to craft. So the most annoying thing about building Forma or getting Forma is probably the resources that you have to farm to craft Forma on a daily basis. You're going to need a lot of Forma because you need Forma for your Warframes and you need Forma for your weapons. So it is really, 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 really important that you start building Forma as soon as possible. Your job, or sort of like your homework or your goal, should be to get one Forma blueprint a day and then have it crafting in your foundry, or to like dedicate a session of playing Warframe to farming up a bunch of Forma blueprints, and then you can just craft one after the other every single day. So it's just sort of like a thing that goes on as you play the rest of the game, right? I would farm up a bunch of Forma blueprints and just have them crafting one after the other, or you can do it the other way and farm up one Forma blueprint a day and then have one Forma crafting a day, right? It takes 24 hours to craft, and it's going to take the rare resources from the star chart so far to craft them. So things like neurodes, neural sensors, morphics, etc. I forget what the last one is. It might be Orokin cells. I think it is. But it'll take those 4 resources, I think off the top of my head, to craft Forma once a day, 24 hours in the foundry. And then once you use Forma on a Warframe or a weapon, it's going to reset that Warframe or weapon back to level 0 in trade-off for an extra polarity. So polarities are those shapes in the modding section which halves the cost of the mods that we equip if we match the shape, right? So let's say we have a D polarity, we throw Vitality on this D polarity, and Vitality is taking 6 points or whatever. If we didn't put it on a D polarity, then it would go down to 3 if we have it on the D polarity, if that makes sense, right? So those are very important, especially if we want to put a full build on our Warframe and our weapons. So go out of your way to get relics which give you Forma blueprints, right? Just by playing excavation missions, defense missions, survival missions, spy missions, etc. And then spend these relics in the Fisher missions to get the Forma blueprints, get the resources to craft the Forma, and have one Forma crafting every single day in your foundry. And then you're going to have a lot of Forma, and your weapons are going to be really strong. Your Warframes are going to be really strong. It's especially important that you have at least one Forma going or before you watch the next episode, because we're going to be getting mods which consume more capacity from a special mission in the next episode that, you know, Of course, if you want to have your Warframe be super powerful, well, then you're going to have to get this format to do so, right? On top of that, there's also this thing called Orokin Catalysts and Orokin Reactors. So Orokin Reactors are for Warframes and Orokin Catalysts are for weapons. They're referred to as gold and blue potatoes. So reactors are gold, catalysts are blue. And what they do is they are going to permanently double the amount of capacity that your Warframes and weapons have. They're always going to be on the weapon. They're always going to be on the Warframe, and it's going to sort of scale up with your what's it called? Your Warframe and weapon. The really annoying thing about Orokin Catalysts and Orokin Reactors is the only reliable way to get them is by doing Nightwave, right? And Nightwave for newer players is actually quite difficult because a lot of the challenges within Nightwave require you to do things that you quite literally cannot do because maybe they're time gated or because you just don't have the mods or the Warframes to complete said things. So some of the Nightwave challenges are like, kill this boss, and you're like, well, where is that boss? You know, like, how do I do that boss? And then whenever you get to the place where you do that boss, you realize that you have to do XYZ thing before you can actually even kill that boss, right? So Nightwave is and isn't newer player friendly because it provides you a way to get the Orokin Catalysts and the Orokin Reactors and Warframe slots and stuff like that, but the challenges are quite difficult, right? So there's a few challenges on here that you're gonna be able to complete. So for example, kill X amount of enemies with X element, or put down a glyph display, or pick up 15,000 credits, or get so many rare mods or something. You know, those are possible, but there's a lot on there that are going to be really difficult or impossible for you to do, which is going to make you feel a little bit sour about the whole system. But if you're able to get enough credits within Nightwave to go to the credit offerings and pick up an Orokin Catalyst or an Orokin Reactor, that's great. The more you can get, the better. So the more challenges that you can do, again, the better as well. And to be completely honest, whenever you are bothering with Nightwave, those Orokin Catalysts and those Orokin Reactors are pretty much the only things that you should be going out of your way to get as of right now. Now, there are other things in here such as Nightingale Extract. Nightingale Extract is a resource which, again, is exclusive to Nightwave. You can only get it from Nightwave. There are other ways to get it which are really annoying to farm and really inefficient, but the most reliable way and the most efficient way to get it is from Nightwave, and it's just used to craft other Warframes and other weapons which you're going to eventually need. So if you can get a lot of credits from Nightwave to get a lot of Nightingale Extract, awesome. If not, don't worry about it. I would say focus on the Orokin Reactors and focus on the Orokin Catalysts. The other things as well is there are aura mods in here which are categorized just as aura mods. You can see at the very bottom of them, if you hover over some of them, for example, that it says aura at the bottom. Now, aura mods are really good because they basically make it so your Warframe has more modding capacity as well. Because we're on the topic of increasing modding capacity, I thought I would mention them. So aura mods are basically like a bonus that you and your entire squad get. So let's say, for example, there is an aura mod called Energy Siphon, which gives 0.6 energy per second. If I have an Energy Siphon mod on and my teammate has Energy Siphon on, then we get 1.2 energy per second, which is really good. So the two aura mods that I recommend picking up are Corrosive Projection and Energy Siphon, because those are the best. Energy Siphon is going to give you passive energy regen, which is great for newer players. Corrosive Projection is going to reduce enemy armor. You could argue that the state of the game right now actually is more favorable towards just aura mods that increase your damage for melee weapons, rifles, secondaries, etc. But I would say that the deeper you go into like a defense run or a survival run, the more useful Corrosive Projection is going to be. So whenever enemies get to a certain level, Corrosive Projection is going to be better than those damage boosting aura mods that you can have. Of course, those damage boosting auras that you can have, such as Deadeye or Steel Charge or whatever, they're not bad. You can definitely get those and throw those on for the meantime if they're available. But whenever Energy Siphon and Corrosive Projection become available in the Nightwave credit offering, then you want to go ahead and pick those up. Now, the reason that I'm being very broad by calling the things in Nightwave just credits is because Nightwave sort of has seasons to it. It's like a season pass. The theme of it is going to change up. So with the first season of Nightwave, it was wolf credits, and this season it's crystal credits. There's different gimmicks to Nightwave every single time that it comes out. So the first time it was like an assassin enemy, kind of like the stalker who comes in and kills you, and this time it's like there's like an investigative type mini game mode thing that you can play to get extra Nightwave standing, which there's going to be individual guides up on YouTube for if you go ahead and look for them. So depending on when you're watching this video and depending on when you're playing, there's going to be a different gimmick to the current Nightwave that is happening, or Nightwave might not even be up right now and it might be in intermission, right? So that means that there's no gimmick available right now and it's just sort of giving past rewards out. So yeah. Basically, do the Nightwave challenges, get the credits from the reward tiers, get as much as you can, and then go out of your way to get those Orokin Catalysts and those Orokin Reactors so you can put them onto your Warframe and your weapons. You can also get them from alerts that happen after the dev streams that happen every single 2 weeks on a Friday. So, you know, sometimes a gift of the Lotus alert pops up. You can do that there, get an Orokin Catalyst, get an Orokin Reactor. So just pay attention to the front of your navigation every single Friday, and it'll tell you if one is available. You can also sometimes get them from invasions. If you guys recall, they randomly appear in invasions. So that's the thing where you go against like a different faction. You can choose the faction that you go up against, and usually it'll be an Orokin Catalyst, put it against an Orokin Reactor, and you just have to choose which one you want. So it's all about just paying attention to what's happening in Warframe right now. There's also like Discord alert bots that you can set up or take advantage of if you join like a Warframe YouTuber's Discord. I think mine has it. You can give yourself a role that will be pinged whenever an Orokin Catalyst or Reactor becomes available in an invasion or alert or something. So that way you can log in and play whenever it comes up. So that was a lot to take in. Orokin Reactors and Orokin Catalysts are a pain in the ass to get, but they are so worth it. And honestly, I would recommend actually farming Platinum. So that's the premium currency in the game, which I'm going to show you guys how to do next video to get these Orokin Catalysts and Reactors faster without having to pay attention to this whole, you know, go to this invasion or go to this Nightwave thing. So yeah, just pay attention for that in the next video. All right, we're almost done. I know that this episode has been a lot to take in, but I want to talk to you guys about the vendors on both Fortuna and also the vendors in the Plains of Eidolon. So Fortuna is a place that you hopefully maybe haven't went to yet. Basically, Fortuna is the open world on the planet Venus. So if you go to Venus, you should see that there is a place called Fortuna. You jump in there and a cool little intro cinematic plays. It's honestly some of the best content within Warframe. The whole atmosphere of this area is great, but you're gonna be asked by a character called Yuriko to do a quest called the Vox Solaris quest. So you just go to the front of Fortuna where the elevator is and you talk to the NPC that is just to the left of that elevator. Then they are gonna give you the Vox Solaris quest. You go ahead, you play through that, and then once you complete that, you're gonna be given a thing called a K drive, and this is basically a hoverboard. You equip this to your gear wheel and you're going to be able to use it in any of the open world planets to just get around a little bit faster, right? So your vendors there are basically like syndicates, right? So you've got the standing with the Ostrons and you've got the standing with the people within Fortuna. And basically what you have to do is you have got to run around and do these bounties with both of these different factions or these vendors to earn standing to basically just get more stuff from them. And there's a lot of stuff that these two different areas offer, right? So before we start talking about bounties and how you can do them efficiently and stuff like that, if you guys go back over to the Plains of Eidolon, go to Cetus and talk to the guy that I like to refer to as Bolibap, he is going to have a quest for you and he's basically just going to ask you a favor. It's a very easy introductory quest that is going to give you a blueprint for a Warframe known as Gara, who is definitely, in my opinion, an S tier Warframe. And then after you complete the Vox Solaris quest as well, you're going to get a blueprint for a Warframe known as Garuda, who is more of a C or B tier Warframe, right? Like she's not super good, but she's definitely 110% fun to play. So once you've completed both of those quests, you can do the bounties for either of those factions. And there's different levels of bounties that are going to give you different rewards and stuff like that. So ranking up these vendors is more or less the exact same as ranking up your syndicates, except you don't have a sigil to put on, and you actually have to do an activity or a select group of activities to rank up your standing with these different vendors. And how much standing you can get within a day is determined by what rank your master rank is. So the higher your master rank is, then the more standing you can get in a day. You want to be doing bounties for both the Ostrons in the Plains of Eidolon and the people in Fortuna in the Orvalis on a daily basis, just so you can rank up that standing. So do the bounties that are appropriate for your level. If you're struggling with the bounties, don't try to force yourself to do a bounty that is too high level. You can keep on rerunning bounties, not to get the standing, but to get the rewards from it, right? So let's say that there is a reward there that you really want. Let's say they're dropping a part for Gara from the Plains of Eidolon bounties. You can keep on rerunning that bounty to get that Gara part, or let's say a mod that is dropping or something like that. So, you can keep on doing that. And then there are other things that you can do within Fortuna and within the Plains of Eidolon to rank up your what's it called. So if you go around and talk to the different vendors within Fortuna and Plains of Eidolon, they're going to give you different stuff. So some of them are going to give you mining equipment, some of them are going to give you fishing equipment, some of them are going to give you hunting equipment and stuff like that. You want to spend your standing to get some of that equipment before you start to progress into the higher tiers of your standing. So using your 5,000 standing cap that you have right now, use that to buy the trank rifle from the vendors within Fortuna, or the fishing rod from the vendors within Fortuna, or even the fishing rod from the vendor within Plains of Eidolon. Just use it to get that stuff. And I'm gonna have on screen, all of the different vendors that you've got to go to and different stuff that you've got to buy. So it's a lot to take in. Just take it at your own pace and pick up these things, and then you're going to be able to use those later on to get more standing for these different types of vendors, if that makes sense. So everything should be on screen of me buying it now. So just go around and buy the same things that I bought, and if you're not able to buy everything, just go do some bounties to try and get more standing, and then just play your Fortuna stuff and your Plains of Eidolon stuff on a daily basis. It's going to get easier as time goes on and we get more Warframes and stuff like that. So it's very complicated right now, but trust me, the earlier you start this stuff, the easier it's going to be later on, because you can get some pretty powerful things both from the Plains of Eidolon, or the people within Cetus, and also the people within Fortuna, because you can make weapons known as kick guns, which are like modular secondary weapons, and things called Zaws, which are modular melee weapons, right? So you basically craft your own, but it takes a lot of work to get there and get things done, So that is pretty much that. The only other thing that I think I can talk about in today's video, actually no, there's two more things that I could talk about, is item sculptures. So after you complete, I believe it's the spy mission, let me get the name of it again, Stolen Dreams. After you complete Stolen Dreams, if you go to Mars, you're going to see that there is a place there called Marie's Bazaar. So if you go to Marie's Bazaar, you're going to be able to talk to the NPC that you found in that quest called Maru, and they're going to give you a weekly mission to go and get an item sculpture. So an item sculpture is basically a thing that you can trade for endo, and you can put item stars within it to get more endo from these item sculptures, right? So Maru's going to have a mission for you on a weekly basis to go and get one of these item sculptures so you can get more endo. So all you have to do is go and get it, and then go back to her and then trade it in, and you've got yourself over 1,000 endo in the space of a couple of minutes. It's really that easy, and it's super beneficial to do this on a weekly basis just so you can get more endo as a newer player. And then on top of that, you've also got your syndicates to do as well. Yes, your syndicates, you got to make sure you do those and rank those up. I've got mine leveled up quite a bit, and I need an Orokin Catalyst to progress on to the next level of my syndicate. So, the last level was Forma that was needed, and now it's an Orokin Catalyst. So you can see how this game is starting to become very grindy. The sooner you start to do things, the easier the rest of the game is going to be. So I've got to go out of my way to rank up the standing with my Steel Meridian even more by doing Steel Meridian missions, because those are a thing. If you go to your navigation, you can see like a spider web, I guess you could call it. If you go ahead and open that tab, you can see a bunch of different syndicate missions that you've got to do to, just get more standing from it. So you can do those on, I believe it's a daily basis, either a daily basis or every 2 days or every reset or something like that. I forget how often those appear, but I think it is daily. Don't quote me on that though. But you can do those whenever they appear just to get a little bit bonus syndicate standing. And then of course you gotta, trade in your Forma, your Orokin Catalysts, whatever, to rank it up. What we're going for is a mod called Scattered Justice within the Steel Meridian. So you've got to get to the rank. Let me just go ahead and double check here on my screen that I've got up. If I go to view offerings, you got to get to Protector to get that Scattered Justice mod. And once we get that, the game is going to get even easier. So it's a lot of work. That video was a lot to take in. Just make sure that you're doing stuff on a daily basis. Make sure that you're leveling up your mods as best as you can. Make sure that you're building your Forma. Make sure that you're, doing your junction requirements and stuff like that. The next episode is going to get even more convoluted. I know, it's crazy, but there's going to be a lot to take in. And honestly, hopefully, the next video makes your life even easier within Warframe, because I'm going to be showing you guys how to get platinum, right? And platinum is the best way to take shortcuts within this game because it's the premium currency. You just have to be really good at making platinum, and hopefully I can make you really good at making platinum in the next episode. But I think that is going to be it for this episode of the game, or of the series. Thank you guys for watching. I should probably also mention that you can go to your modding section to put those stars into those little sculptures. And I guess we'll talk about farming the boss on Europa in the next episode as well, whenever you've got the Redeemer crafted and you've got mods put on it and level it up from 0 to 30, because I don't expect you guys to have that done within this video. So we'll talk about farming Nova from the Raptor boss on Europa in the next episode. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching this one. It was a lot to take in. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it, subscribe for more Warframe content, and I will see you guys in the next video.